Hi, everyone, and welcome to Data Center Modernization for Scaling Artificial Intelligence. So, this is an incredibly fast moving area of IT. And so, we're happy to dive into what's happening in this space right now. Today's webinar is sponsored by Pure Storage and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Keith Ward. I'm from Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. Before we get to today's presentation, though, there are a couple of housekeeping things that you'll need to know to help you get the most out of this session. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in your webinar control panel. That's also the place to let us know where you're logging in from. And you've been doing that already. It's great to see people from Jackson, Mississippi, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Dallas, Wyoming. So you're all over the place, and glad to see that. So that Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues you might be having. A browser refresh will fix most audio, video, and slide advancement issues. If that doesn't work, let us know in that Q&A, and we'll provide further technical assistance. All right, up next, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you'll find a number of great resources. I'd especially like to call your attention to several handouts from Pure Storage, where you can get more information on today's topic. Make sure to check those out. Also, look for the link to the Gorilla Guide Book Club, where you can get access to Actual Tech Media's huge library of printed resources on a vast array, a huge swath of technology topics. You'll also find in the handouts section a link to the Actual Tech Media Event Center, which has our calendar of upcoming events. I would imagine there's more than a few that might be of interest to some of you. And finally, at the end of this webinar, we'll be awarding a $250 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Now, you do have to be in attendance during the entire live event to qualify for the prize, and the official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can also be found in that handout section. All right. With that, it is time to get to today's main event here. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our presenters today, Mike Leone, Jan Oftenkamp, and Tony Packaday. Mike, you're leading this discussion, so I'll turn it over to you. Take it away.
Welcome to today's webcast, where we'll be discussing some of the tools and technologies to help you modernize and optimize your data center infrastructure in support of scaling AI. We'll hit on challenges and important capabilities to consider and how Pure Storage and NVIDIA together can help. I'm Mike Leone, Principal Analyst at Enterprise Strategy Group, leading coverage of AI, and I'm pleased to be joined today by two folks from Pure Storage and NVIDIA. First, we have Jan Oftenkamp from Pure Storage. Jan?
Thanks, Mike, and welcome everybody. So as Mike said, I'm Jan Oftenkamp. I'm the Director for AI and Analytics Solutions here at Pure Storage, and I work with partners like NVIDIA to put forward joint solutions that address the challenges of our customers.
Awesome, and we have Tony Packaday from NVIDIA. Tony?
Hey, Tony Packaday here, and glad to be on with Pure Storage. And we've been doing a lot of work together. I run product marketing for the DGX Systems business unit at NVIDIA, and a lot of what I do is helping enterprises around the world get access to AI-optimized infrastructure like Pure Airy.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for joining. Let's get started. So as organizations look to make AI a core element of their business, moving from pilots and special projects to production continues to be a challenge. There's powerful, intuitive AI tools that are enabling faster ramp up of AI projects, but it's becoming quite obvious that it's not just a matter of lifting and shifting AI workloads from small sandbox type environments to an organization's mainstream data center infrastructure. It's really about rethinking your approach to AI by modernizing your data center infrastructure. Now, based on conversations we're having with customers, there's several reasons why a new approach to infrastructure is required when looking to scale AI workloads. One of the biggest pain points organizations face when trying to scale AI is attempting to repurpose legacy or traditional infrastructure to support AI workloads. And the problem is that look, existing data center infrastructure just can't keep up with the compute and storage flexibility, as well as the horsepower that's really required to handle the different workloads that are found throughout the AI lifecycle, from early stage like exploration and experimentation to training and then inference. Organizations are running into issues like configuration rigidity, I/O inflexibility, and data isolation problems, never mind things like security and governance issues, right? And look, deploying AI POCs in public clouds, it makes a ton of sense, but we're seeing some scale challenges that are starting to present themselves in the cloud. It's hard to predict compute and storage resource requirements in the cloud as models get more complex and organizations continue relying on general purpose cloud GPUs. And this makes budgeting super hard, and it results in much higher than expected costs. So my first question, let's start with Tony and then we can go to Jan. Can you talk through some of the compute and storage challenges you see organizations facing today when it comes to supporting AI workloads?
Yeah, those challenges are actually driven by some really exciting things that have been happening, especially over last year and now into this year, that are essentially new workloads, more intense workloads that are driving infrastructure requirements like we've never seen before. And, I'll give you one example. These days, Chat GPT has become fodder for cocktail party and coffee shop banter. But the reality underlying that is that modern AI development takes shape in a couple of forms depending on how existential it is to your business. Generative AI is working its way into every industry, from media to entertainment to healthcare to retail and pharmaceuticals. It's going to touch everything. From marketing to legal documents to drug discovery and more. So with all that comes this need for computational power, the ability to parallelize a workload like a very large language model over many, many compute nodes, and having those nodes supported by a high-speed data fabric that also is connected to ultra-high performance storage with very low latency. And that's the kind of infrastructure that we're seeing more and more that's required to tame these workloads, that's required to, for instance, train the kind of models, with many, many billions of parameters in them, with the speed needed to be useful to enterprise. Jan, what about your thoughts on that?
Thanks, Tony. I agree with you completely. And this is an evolving area, and the demands are increasing month over month and year over year. And to your point, these workloads require high performance compute, but it must be partnered or coupled with high performance storage. So it's not uncommon for customers to come to us and frankly ask us for help. Maybe they've already started and, they dabbled in the cloud, they did something themselves, oftentimes shadow IT. But there's a couple challenges with each of those. If they've tried to leverage their legacy infrastructure, this is the one they know, this is the one they're comfortable with. But quite frankly, these are typically not built for these very type of workloads. And layering something like AI on top of what you already had can compromise the performance of other applications. It's not uncommon for customers to share with us that they even have to move around different workloads to help mitigate this. I mentioned DIY or cloud, and again, oftentimes these are focused on the near term. And as things scale, there are some challenges that are introduced when you think about the cost and the added complexity.
Yeah, now, Jen, going off of what you just mentioned there, something we continue to track is the idea of repatriation of workloads from the cloud back to on-prem environments. 57% of organizations have repatriated workloads from the public cloud back to on-premises environments. And when it comes to AI workloads specifically, we're seeing drivers like processing bottlenecks, storage latency, the need to tightly integrate an AI infrastructure stack. Certain AI use cases, they simply can't afford to deal with the latency of moving data between environments. This is what we call the data gravity effect, right? Where a large data set, like one that drives a complex deep learning model, attracts compute resources, services, applications, other data to where that original data is generated. And not only is this making purpose-built AI infrastructure essential, it's putting a premium on the evaluation selection of the right storage platform, one that can be tightly integrated with an underlying compute infrastructure that can yield that deterministic performance that organizations are striving for in on-premises or co-location facilities. So if I'm an organization that recognizes a need to modernize infrastructure to support these new AI workloads, I'm prioritizing a solution that's built on right-sized compute as well as high-capacity, high-performance storage. And remember, AI workloads, they tend to expand dramatically. So that AI infrastructure, it has to scale quickly and easily. It needs to be deployed quickly and really offer enterprise-class functionality like security, scale-out storage, built-in replication with snapshots, hybrid cloud support, easy data management. The list could go on. And then, of course, there's the integrated hardware acceleration from compute-intensive AI workloads like simulations, imaging, analytics. So question here, Jan, let's start with you this time, then we can go to Tony. How are you seeing customers reevaluate infrastructure as they look to scale AI? What do they come to you asking for?
Thanks, Mike. They reach out often to us because they recognize that they need some help with their planning. They recognize that careful consideration has to be made around both the compute layer and the storage layer. And beyond that, they have to look at this as a long-term solution. To your point, right? This is growing and evolving rapidly. If earlier they did go down the path of cloud, for example, and I understand why many people start there, it's that big red easy button. But oftentimes you get to a point, like you mentioned, where it simply is no longer working. And when you think about moving to on-prem, be it in a data center or a colo, customers still have a strong desire to maintain that cloud-like experience. And Pure Storage is uniquely qualified to deliver here. We not only provide performance and simplicity at scale, but we deliver ease of use and ease of management with flexible support and procurement models to ensure technical currencies. So we're able to deliver a similar experience as they look to bring things back on-prem. Tony, I'm sure you have some thoughts around that yourself.
Yeah, and I love the way you put it. There's a couple things that if I look at the marketplace of customers, I might categorize them this way. As you look at the broad spectrum of businesses, many will see AI as an important commodity, and the proliferation of like SaaS-based models, for instance, will have this democratizing effect in terms of ensuring that any business can integrate AI-powered capabilities into their applications. And so these folks will probably leverage APIs and access kind of pre-built AI, if you will, as a service. Others, however, will see the need to invest in large-scale training infrastructure because this is their intellectual property, the core DNA of their business, and it's not a commodity. And the volume and frequency with which they need to train and retrain these models will drive enough steady state demand for computing that they'll need something with a more fixed, predictable cost. They're looking for solutions, and I like how you put this, Jan, that kind of like offering the ease of cloud, but with the deterministic performance of on-prem. And furthermore, they need solutions that solve for three key things. One is they don't have a lot of high performance computing experts on their bench. They need people who know how to design this with the optimal balance of compute, storage, and networking and software. So they need to eliminate the design complexity of infrastructure. They need turnkey deployments that are effortless to deploy and don't take weeks to months, but can instead be stood up in days. And they need a simplified operational model because, again, managing this infrastructure and its workloads is complex. It's not like typical traditional enterprise applications or workloads. So they need, for instance, access to expertise that can help them understand where there's a problem with their AI workload, and they need a single point of support. So this is where really NVIDIA and Pure, I think, have been partnering very well and been focusing a lot of our joint solution effort to solve these problems.
So the big question for customers comes back to, hey, how should compute and storage infrastructure be modernized and right-sized in order to be considered, truly AI ready, not just now, but in the future? And this is really where Pure and NVIDIA come in. Together, you've developed an integrated AI-ready infrastructure in AIRI. So let's start with Tony and then go to Jan. What is AIRI? How is it enabling customers to simplify AI adoption? And how is it enabling them to scale AI?
Yeah, great question. I was privileged to be there right at the beginning when we first started putting this together. You look back roughly 6 years, I think, you find a completely different landscape than current. We had customers who were coming to us time and again. We find ourselves in a lot of the same meetings, and they'd be asking us for a definitive blueprint of how to scale infrastructure to support their workloads. They're looking for a more defined and predictable way to scale compute, storage, and networking. And customers looked at us and said, you guys need to solve this. You need to help us. Find a better approach. And with that, we struck this perfect design, this optimized design that could scale in a linearly predictable way, bringing together the exact right balance of compute, storage, and networking in a design that could scale cost effectively. And that was really the genesis of AIRI, or AI-ready infrastructure. And it was the first such offering in the marketplace. And what customers saw immediately was that Pure and NVIDIA shared a very similar design philosophy. We were both centered around the mission of consolidating legacy infrastructure and delivering much, much better performance, to orders of magnitude better than what they were doing before, in a fraction of the required data center space. Jan, love your thoughts on this as well.
Thanks, Tony. I'll take this opportunity to share with this audience that our partnership with NVIDIA is particularly strong, and that for a couple of reasons. We are very much aligned in our philosophies and our approaches to market. It's all about making things easier for our customers. So as you heard, AIRI is AI-ready infrastructure. It combines NVIDIA DGX with end-to-end networking and FlashBlade. We recently introduced our next generation FlashBlade, which was referred to as FlashBlade S. It's a disaggregated, modular, scale-out storage solution targeted at these large, fast-growing data workloads such as AI. We provide quick install and implementation, which means you see a reduced time to value and onboarding time is improved considerably. These are complex. And I like to simplify this oftentimes and say this is about as close as you can get to a plug and play solution that will deliver in this space today and beyond.
Yeah, now one topic I'm seeing come up more and more when it comes to AI infrastructure is sustainability, right? It's no secret that these systems can be power hungry. It's a big reason why, I've mentioned right-sized so many times in what I've been saying. It's increasingly important to customers when it comes to these AI systems. Let's start with Jan, then Tony. Can you talk through how sustainability features are really being scrutinized and how data center efficiency and reducing power consumption are driving both customer requirements and, your own product development?
Thanks, Mike. Happy to cover that with this audience. And more when we engage with customers, these are topics of conversation because many of them are concerned with efficiency, power consumption, and we're no different with Pure. Around our solutions, our FlashBlade is called FlashBlade S, and there are some key things that we deliver. First of all, the S stands for a number of things, but one of the attributes is sustainability. We are delivering more terabytes per rack unit. We are using almost 50% less power than the previous generation, 28% less cooling, and it amounts to about 1.3 watts per terabyte. And these are top of mind for so many folks. From an operations perspective, so it's not just about the products that we're delivering, but there's a 2021 ESG report that captures what we're doing at that level as well. And I know, Mike, you're going to make some links available here at the end, and I would encourage each and every one of you to take a look at that. These deployments are sizable, and every element matters. Tony, you have some thoughts on that, I'm sure, so I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, the sustainability question was looming large last year, and it's become, front and center now, especially with the future of where these AI models are going and the escalating demands on compute required to tame them. But that, in turn, is predicted to make data center energy skyrocket in terms of consumption between now and I think 2030. We saw numbers to the effect of potentially 5% of the world's energy usage in data centers. And the good thing is we know that accelerated computing drives much more energy efficient data centers by offloading compute intensive operations to GPUs, which in turn use roughly 1/20th the energy for equivalent tasks than CPUs. And with the latest innovations, this can be utilized at much higher rates than legacy infrastructure. So, energy efficiency in AI-ready data centers, we estimate would save maybe 20 terawatt hours per year and 14 million tons of CO2. And even within our own generational improvements in our own products, for instance, NVIDIA's DGX, our latest DGX H100 represents 1/3 the TCO, 1/5 the number of servers, and is 3.5x more energy efficient. So that's good news all around, if you're contemplating scaling AI workload.
Love the quants that you both shared there. That was excellent. So look, we know organizations need help, but honestly, they want more than just an AI infrastructure provider. Tony, I think you hinted at this earlier. They want an AI technology partner that can deliver guidance to help with not just the infrastructure, but planning, implementation, allowing them to start with something that's relatively small production class, and then grow quickly, easily, and cost efficiently. They need end-to-end support to offset the skills gaps or what we're seeing, right? The overburdened experts. And then they want assurance that agility is engineered from the start to really ensure that long-term relevance without massive upfront CapEx investments are occurring there. So I know you're doing this, both of you, for many customers. Tony, let's start with you and then we can go to Jen. Can you talk through an example of how you're helping organizations transform here? Do you have, a good customer example or case study you can share?
Yeah, and I think the way you framed it is perfect. Again, it's one of those things where in 22, a few things started emerging that are now table stakes for customers we've been dealing with already this year. First, we need to reduce data center OpEx while scaling these complex workloads through the use of accelerated computing. We touched on that earlier. But it's not just about infrastructure. And this leans into some of what you said as well. This year, I think business leaders are going to need to speed the ROI of their AI and data science investments. And to do that, they're going to need their teams to be able to streamline development workflow. They can't afford to see over 50% of their modeled prototypes never make it into production apps. And that's been kind of pretty normal for AI development. Sometimes a lot worse than 50%. And the ones that do can't be taking 9 months or more to get there. That's why more teams, we think, are going to turn to pre-trained models accompanied by fully optimized deep learning frameworks and accelerated data science libraries that unleash developer productivity and enable teams to get to that first viable prototype much, much sooner and with much less effort than it took them before. So at NVIDIA, we created this thing called the NVIDIA AI Enterprise Suite. It's a set of software that's been purpose-built to accomplish this. And it comes with every DGX, so therefore it comes with every AIRI installation. We've also created NVIDIA Base Command, also part of AIRI, and it helps teams, both developers and IT, manage model development workflow, orchestrating resources and freeing up developer time from having to wrestle with programming infrastructure, was something nobody has time for this year. So I'm quite proud to say that we've already seen customers, for instance, leading healthcare institutions and companies doing high-end research, manufacturers, all using the AIRI platform in this way, deriving these benefits, not just from the infrastructure, but especially from the software that speeds the ROI of their AI development. Jan, how about you? What about your thoughts on this?
Thanks, Tony. You made some great points. And I think a few of the things that are really important is that customers understand to truly accomplish that competitive advantage, they have to infuse their business with AI. They understand how important it is. And like Tony already said, they need to make sure that what they leverage today will carry them into the future as well as meet their immediate needs. Tools and software, a big part of that. And so they're looking really for enterprise grade solutions. And like Tony mentioned, we have a number of customers and a number of verticals that we've been able to work with and support. We have several customers in healthcare. We have them in research, communications, autonomous driving, and more. I'll share with you an example of one customer that is focused on research. Their business model is one whereby they effectively do the research on behalf of other customers and help them tackle some of their most ambitious projects. Examples include analyzing SEC data. Another example is calculating the routes for truck deliveries for thousands of vehicles. And lastly, detecting billing anomalies for large providers such as telcos and other utilities. With this customer, they were challenged by the fact that they tried to leverage their existing infrastructure. They were maxed out, and this left researchers waiting for experiments to run. They shuffled workloads around. I made mention of that earlier, to make space of these. And that's a challenge not only for the researchers, but the other parts of the business that are impacted by that. And very simply put, we were able to work with the customer and NVIDIA to deliver a solution, which is AIRI, that gave them the flexibility of cloud with on-prem consolidation and performance. Customers also often ask me, well, how did that improve things for things? I gave 3 examples earlier of the type of research that they do. And in the case of SEC analyzation, this job went from 10 days down to 3 days. So more than 2/3 performance improvement. When I talked about the trucking company that had to calculate routes for these thousands of trucks, again, reduced this by more than 2/3. So that means that these customers can take this data and make use of it in less time. And then the other one I talked about were billing anomalies for utilities and telcos, and they were able to deliver greater than 93% accuracy rate. So again, the value that they're able to deliver to their customer by virtue of what we help them with means that they are creating that competitive advantage.
I love that. One thing I want to add here, Tony, you were mentioning ROI, right? There's another component of ROI, especially as it relates to AI, on the idea of failing fast, right? You want to fail fast. You want to move to that next project as quickly as possible. So I love that angle on the ROI. The other component that I think is really important to mention here, you can look at the macroeconomic challenges that we've been experiencing, and we all the time we're asking customers and companies and organizations, where are you placing bets? Where are you making your largest investments? Now, the last time there was a macroeconomic slowdown, we know it was due to the pandemic, but we saw cost cuts in areas of AI. Well, this time around, albeit a little different than the pandemic, organizations can't afford to pull funding and spending away from AI. They have to invest here because they are going to be left behind. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where AI goes over this next year. I know this has been a great conversation. Tony, Jan, anything you want to add that we haven't touched on?
So, I'd say this year, it's absolutely critical saving money, to your point, Mike. And in many organizations, they're actually, inspecting, kind of looking inward at how they've been handling AI workloads thus far, and discovering that in many organizations, there's this sprawl of development silos that are not sharing infrastructure, they're not sharing tools, and they're definitely not sharing best practices. And this is really the year, especially in the current conditions, to consolidate and centralize AI development into, for instance, one's own AI center of excellence. And AIRI is the full stack, fully optimized platform on which every enterprise can build that AI center of excellence. And if you're exploring AIRI, I think it's a perfect time to be talking with your teams from Pure Storage and NVIDIA. They're going to help you put together, for instance, a TCO tool that compares your present state versus future. So I'd definitely say reach out to them. The other thing that I'd offer is, we're on the cusp of GTC. So depending on when you're watching this, you're either going to GTC and seeing it live, or you're looking at replays of various sessions. But either way, there's going to be a lot of information, both from not only folks at NVIDIA and our partners like Pure, who are excited to have there as well, but also customers, folks like yourselves who are watching this, offering their best practices and insights about how to invest in AI, double down in AI, especially in turbulent times, for that competitive advantage, for that streamlined supply chain, for that enhanced customer experience and loyalty that's so essential, especially now more than ever. Jan, how about you? What are your thoughts on forward-looking guidance?
I share a lot of your thoughts, Tony. And, in the reading that I do, I find more and more AI providers like yourself echoing the same sentiment. People are going to tighten up their spend, but the one thing they want to make sure they focus on, like you already shared, is that competitive advantage. And frankly, difficult economic times provide a great opportunity to capture market share. And we want to be able to help our customers do exactly that. So Tony talked about reaching out to your teams. I would encourage you to do the same. Pure Storage, along with NVIDIA, recently introduced a TCO calculator where we will help you walk through the cost savings based on your current deployment and what you look to accomplish. Tony also mentioned GTC, and Pure Storage will also be a participant there. And we truly look forward to engaging with all of you to talk about how we help you address your challenges in this space and make you the best.
Awesome. Well, Jan, Tony, thank you so much for joining us today, sharing your perspectives and your insight to the listeners. We hope you found the information we shared here helpful. Thanks so much for your time. I encourage you to continue exploring the possibilities of AI with Pure Storage and NVIDIA. And please feel free to check out the links below for more information. Stay tuned for more on this and more throughout the coming months. Thanks.
Okay, Jan, Tony, and Mike, thanks for that great conversation. They kept hitting the theme of competitive advantage with AI, and I have to agree with them. It is time to be investigating If you are not even doing that yet, if you are doing that, it's time to really be thinking about implementation, because a lot of your competitors may be doing just that. So excellent conversation about AI and getting your infrastructure ready for it. Now we are up to the next part, which is the gift giveaway. So that's the $250 Amazon gift card prize drawing. As I mentioned before, you do have to be in attendance for the entire event to be eligible for that. And we do have a winner now. So the winner of that $250 Amazon gift card is Joshua Murray from Oklahoma. Congratulations, Joshua. We'll be in touch with you very soon to get you your gift card. All right, this has been a lot of fun today. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Pure Storage for making this event possible. Thanks to you, the attendees. You're the reason we do all of this. So thanks so much for coming today and for your great questions. That concludes the event for today. Have a great rest of your day.